Hello, my name's Nathan and I'm back here today to talk to you about the Fabfilter Pro-Q3. So before we get started today, as always, don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the bell button down below, as well as check out the description for all kinds of useful information we've included with the review and the video today. And of course, let us know what you think in the comments down below, and tell us what you think maybe we missed out, or maybe what you think of Fabfilter Pro-Q3. So today's going to be a bit of a short video because we're just going to check out a few bits of musical material. We're just going to show off what the Fabfilter Pro-Q3 can do. And of course, with the same structure as always in all of my synth and videos for Consordini.com, we'll be first of all having a talk about the strengths and weaknesses of this EQ, followed by a quick tour of all the features and what it can do, and then of course a practical example before we wrap up. And yeah, so you can come to your own conclusions, sort of thing. So the Fabfilter Pro-Q3 is the third iteration from Fabfilter's very, very famous equalizer, which you can see here now on the screen. So this equalizer works for pretty much everyone across the music production, mixing and mastering spectrum. It works for beginners because it's so approachable and easy to start using, and easy to misuse as well. But that's another topic. But due to its precision and the amazing GUI that Fabfilter always have fantastic GUIs, by the way, makes it really useful for near almost every situation you would need. It can be really, if you know what you're doing, it can be very broad. You can do broad strokes with it, or you can get in very tiny little minute details. Say you've just rounding up a mix and you've got all the vibe going, but you just got some tiny little frequency poking out. You want to pull down a tiny bit, rather than any other analog EQs or something like that. This is a really good kind of very minute, almost microscopic EQ is a good way to describe this EQ at times. It can pretty much do everything you want, and we'll get into that in the next section when we talk about all the different features it has. But this is a no-brainer. If you're making music, you need this EQ. I don't know what I would do. I think I use this on every mix since I've bought it, and I've had it since the first version, and the third version now has brought in so many different features. It just makes it incredible. It's just, you have to have this equalizer. Really, really do. It's a must if you're making music. So without further ado, let's dive into the features and have a look at what it can do, and how you could maybe use it in your productions. Okay, so here is the main GUI that we'll be looking at most of the time when using Fabfilter Pro-Q3. And as you can see, I've just created a little node to start with. But let's work through all the features and the main panel to see what we're working with before we even get started touching anything. So up here we've got undo, redo, AB, which is obviously very important when you're trying to make some tricky mix decisions. You can copy over A to B, B to A, of course, and switch between them, undo, redo. We've got a bunch of presets up here. This is pretty self-explanatory. You don't need me for this, just save. We've got help button over here, flick between the different presets. We've got full screen mode, boom. Very, very big, very nice. So that'd be really cool, this full screen mode if you've got a second monitor. I actually use, not this plugin, but I use the full screen mode on Fabfilter Pro L2 because it's really good for checking loudness on an extra monitor while you're making some adjustments. But yeah, if you like, you can turn this into full screen. We've got the main GUI here with the frequencies down the bottom, and you can also click down here to show where each keyboard frequency would be, which is really useful if you're using the keyboard for, say, like a sub bass, or you really want to pinpoint where the bass drums kind of resonance is. So say you want to take it down a bit or bring it up a bit. This is a really cool little tool you can use to really pinpoint your frequencies musically with an EQ, which is a cool little hidden feature because I think a lot of people maybe miss this. So hopefully that's useful. You've got MIDI learn down here, so you can set MIDI commands. I've never really used this, but feel free to comment down in the comments below and tell me how you've been using it. So moving along, we've got down here the different latency modes. So in short, again, we're not going to go in super in depth. There's plenty of videos online explaining kind of complex algorithms of stuff like this. But and so zero latency is zero latency, but it can introduce some kind of phase shifts. Linear phase doesn't introduce phase shifts, but can have some other kind of pre-ringing effects that you might not want. And natural phase, according to the Fabfilter manual, is somewhere in the middle. So it's kind of like a little compromise. But you can get super technical with these 3 modes. And especially when it comes to mastering, I agree, this kind of stuff matters a lot because you're affecting a whole mix. But if you're just mixing and you're tracking and stuff, just kind of flick between them and see which one you're feeling. I think, you know, don't get too caught up in it. But yeah, have a flick between these. And then we've got the analyzer. So I'll flick through this when I show the sound demo in a little bit. But you've got on this, now we have a sidechain. So say you've got a vocal and a guitar. Always I have a problem with vocals and guitars. When they inhabit the same space. You can sidechain if you've got 2 instances of Fabfilter Pro-Q3, for example, one on the guitar, one on the vocal, you can get them to talk to each other. So the analyzer will display underneath the frequencies which may be causing troubles and where they're overlapping. So you can, for example, say you want the vocal to pop out more than the guitar, but they're both in the same kind of frequency range and fighting with each other. You could pop open the analyzer and you could see where the problem areas might be and take a little cut out of the guitars to see if that lifts up the vocals in the mix a little bit. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. It's just an extra little tool for you to use. So you've got pre and post equalizer. So obviously post, you can show the analyzer will show after you've made all your EQ changes, and then pre is obviously the reverse, before you make all your changes. Yeah, so you've got the sidechain and the external spectrum, and then we've got down here freeze. Freeze is a really cool tool if you're, especially in mastering. Freeze will show you the peaks of where everything's hitting. So say you've got a guitar and it's really quiet, but then it hits really loud. It will show you the highest frequencies in kind of a frozen chart. And again, I'll show you this in a second. So this is spectrum grab. So if you hover your mouse over the frequency, it will kind of freeze, almost kind of like a kind of situation dependent freeze kind of thing. And then you've got down here is collisions. So collisions will show you, as you can see, you can check this out yourself as well, it comes up there. It will just show you where maybe 2 frequencies are colliding possibly. And down here you've got a bunch of range, and you can set how much, you can set your resolution, how quickly you want it to respond. Sometimes a slower response is better. Again, in mastering, it's good to see the overall level rather than very, very quickly. So you can change that in here, the speed, the resolution, and the tilt, and the range, of course. You've got EQ match here as well, which is where you can analyze the input. I've never really used this that much because I've just never felt the need. But it's just an extra thing you can use. But yeah, yeah, don't hesitate to comment down below if you've got some experience with using this feature. As yeah, we'd love to know about it. But yeah, it's another option. So very customizable analyzer, which is really great. So over here, we've got obviously the volume. You can see jumping up and down here. And this is your peak. So minus 6.2 decibels. So we have the display range over here. So we can see here, this changes here. So this will be plus 2 decibels. So this is for very minute. Normally 6 is pretty good. Normally I work within adding 2 multiples of 2 if I'm mixing. Because a lot of hardware units also have that, and it's kind of something that's audible when you add 2 or you add 4 or you add 6. But yeah, 1 is a bit subtle, especially for mixing. So yeah, you can, if you want to go really small and you want to get really into the details, you can change the range here to 3, or you can change it all the way to 30. I've never done that, but you can do it if you want. That's the beauty of the tool. And then down here we've got the bypass button, and we have the up here we have the output pan, and we have the output level, so you can change the volume. So you're adding a lot of volume here in the EQ, you can turn it down over here. And then we've got a phase flip, and then we've got auto gain. Again, I don't use auto gain, but feel free to use it. I just think doing your own kind of gain matching is it's not a problem, but it's just, again, it's another option to have here. You've got auto gain. So every time you add something up here, you add some EQ boost, it will attenuate down in the algorithm. And that's about it for all the tools that you have here on the Fabfilter Pro-Q3. So let's dive into a bunch of examples I've prepared in advance. We'll look through some drums, a piano, kind of synthy loop, a bass, and a little bit of vocals, and then and group them together into a group bus, and just have a play with all of the sounds of raw with nothing but the Pro Q3 and see what we come up with. Here we go.
You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. Me feel so good. Me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. You make me feel so. You make me feel so good. You make me feel so. 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 You make me feel so.
Okay, so that about wraps up the video for today. We hope you enjoyed the video. I've been Nathan Cleary, and of course make sure to head over to consordini.com to check out more reviews, more videos like this, and lots of musical fun stuff. And just before we go, don't forget to head down to the comments down below, let us know what you think, hit the bell button and hit subscribe for more videos like this, and yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!